Let's talk a little bit today about the power of the subconscious mind. How about spiritual growth, spiritual guidance? Breathing meditation exercises, maybe. Ooh, let's talk a little bit about the Holy Spirit. You know, uh, Last week's podcast, which we just posted the other day, I'm sorry for the delay on that. We had talked about how there cannot be a hell and a heaven because what is whole, and there's no conflict, there's no split apart. And once the dream of life, the dream of separation, the dream of time and space is over, we will awaken to realizing that we've been home all along, and this has all just been, you know how can eternity be split in two? That's impossible. That would mean God is in conflict with someone always. There's no conflict in eternity. Eternity is eternity. It's infinite. It's one. So that was our conversation in the last podcast, which is posted at my website at jamesnussbaumer.com. Hey, by the way, everyone, this is James Nussbaumer. Thanks for joining me. And, it's a little bit, it's early this morning now, as I am, it's 6:38 in the morning on December 6th, 2017, as I sip on my coffee this morning. It's dark here in Northeast Ohio, where I'm at right now. And we want to talk about, the power of the subconscious mind. What really is it? Not what they want us to know. What really is it? Only you know. And like I'd said, keep in mind, the previous podcast talked about, if you haven't heard it, I encourage you to go to my website at my podcast page and click on the link and listen to it. But there can be no hell and no heaven in real life and real eternity. That would mean that forever and forever there's God fighting the devil forever and ever. That can't happen. And I only chuckle and laugh not to make fun. So please, if someone's please don't be offended, because I'm just chuckling over how the ego in us can like to play tricks on us and do things. But but anyways, before I talk about the light of spiritual guidance is the power of your subconscious mind, let me just add that I got the last podcast that I told you I was posted about, there is no hell and it's only heaven when everything's over with. I get tremendous, great response, great, loving messages from people. By the way, I encourage you to leave messages at my contact page at jamesnussbaumer.com. And if you're at YouTube, where this is being posted to, please click and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please do that right now as you are listening to me. Click and subscribe. And if you're already at my website, thank you for being here. Thank you for visiting me. And by the way, in the header above and the footer below, there's a YouTube icon that you can click on there if you would like to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I hope that you will. And also my newsletter. But anyways, let's talk about the light of spiritual guidance as the power of your subconscious mind. But before we go, let me back up again, because I missed out what I was saying there. Is yes, I got tremendous, great, loving messages. A woman and her husband said they both, when they see me at one of my next conferences, they're going to give me a big old squeeze hug, an old-fashioned squeeze hug, she had said. And there's just a lot of good messages, just encouraging me, because they read my book and they know the adversities that I had to climb through and get over and jump over. And I talked about in one blog article about the tandem bicycle ride where through the gates of the prison system that I had to go through and all of that. But anyways, we're not talking about that today. But my point is, I got tremendous, happy, loving messages to that podcast. And so I appreciate all of you that are supporting me on that. But then, on the flip side of the coin, there's always those few that just want to try to terrorize you. So I got some hate mail over that thing that about there can be no hell, there is no devil, eternity's one. It's only heaven. And one person said, "Well, no, there's a heaven and there's a hell, and you're being blasphemous." And he messaged me on that. Of course, I didn't reply to that, but that's not blasphemy. Blasphemy is meaning that you're acknowledging that God is not one, that God is not the only power in the universe. He is the only power, whatever God is. He's not a body. See, the people that can't understand, and I'm not making judgment towards them, but for you people listening, if you cannot understand that God is whole and everything is whole, everything is one when this is all over with, the reason you cannot understand it is because you're placing too much emphasis on the body as who you are. That's what forgiveness is all about. Forgiveness means you're taking yourself beyond the body. You're overlooking the body and going beyond it. And that's the real meaning of forgiveness, A Course in Miracles tells us. Okay, let's get into today's conversation. The light of spiritual guidance is the power of your subconscious mind. See, we still want to think the power of our subconscious mind. When we say subconscious mind, we still want to think it's something physical, like a part of the brain that's in there somewhere, somewhere deep inside the brain. See, that's the ego wanting to keep us trapped inside the body. No, the subconscious mind is really who we are. It's infinity. It's eternity. The oneness of God. No duality. No heaven, no hell. Just a whole oneness, beautiful bliss. That's the real power of the subconscious mind. So if you can think about that and just let it flow over your brain, don't dissect it, like I always try to say, like an engineering project, then you'll be okay here while you're listening to me. But the light of spiritual guidance is the power, the light of spiritual guidance, not the darkness. The light of spiritual guidance is the power of your subconscious mind, which is God, in which sprouts spiritual truth. And that is understanding the light about you. And together, the light and your understanding of the light brings out your true knowledge, your real true knowledge. Not what you may have been maybe taught in the past. I mean, I'm sure well-intendedly taught. I had a Catholic upbringing, and I have it was the time, it was ages ago, and people thought differently, and the times are changing. And by the way, I give a tremendous thank you to the Catholic nuns and the priests that taught me and gave me a great foundation as to who I am. Great people. But times change, and by what's happening is we're coming more towards wholeness, slowly. It's not going to happen in our lifetime, no matter what age you are now. I'm 60 years old now. I don't care if you're 16 years old and you're listening to this. In our lifetime, we're never going to be completely whole, but we're moving closer to that. So my point is, I'm not talking about the light that you see with the body's eyes, the light of who you are. It is the light that is your state of mind is what I'm talking about. A Course in Miracles helps us see that our state of mind is either seeing darkness or seeing light. The darkness is not you, but you are the light. If you can see the light, you are experiencing spiritual growth in seeing yourself and not what the ego-based mind has taught you or made for you to see. You have made the ego. You have made it. It's something that's going to die when your body dies. It's going nowhere. It's never going to go to eternity. So all the thoughts of heaven and hell, the devil and all that, it's all stuff that was made up by the ego, and you place that in your ego-based mind, and you believe it because somebody told you so, and so you're believing it. The light is always there because you are always you with a capital Y. Y-O-U, you. Because the light is always there because you are always you. And the Holy Spirit is this light. because he abides in you, which means he is you. He's not somewhere out there. He's within you because everything is one. It's wholeness. You know, many have not understood this and many have not known this, and it is therefore the task, a huge task of the Holy Spirit in you to show you the source with a capital S, the source from which your light emanates. How about that? Where does your light, the light of you, emanate from? There's got to be a source. If it's one beam of light, it's part of you, right? Consider this, which might simplify this. A ray of sun, a sunbeam from the sun, a ray of sun is a beautiful sight, and so are you, right? Yes, you are. And that ray of sun is one with and of the sun, right? Yes. It's a beam that comes from the sun. It's not separate from the sun. It is of the sun in the solar system. The sun that shines down and gives us a beautiful day. That beam coming down, it's not separate. But the clouds try to make it look like it's separate when they poke through the clouds. But no, the sun rays shine from the sun, never interrupted. Correct? So I'll repeat that. Think about this for you naysayers before you leave nasty hate mail to me. Consider this. A ray of sun is a beautiful sight, and so are you. And the ray of sun is one with and of the sun, S-U-N, sun, from which it extends or emanates. So that beam of sun that you see out there is one with its source. In order for you to really know and understand spiritual freedom, you must take the step to have real knowledge of that which you cannot understand yourself alone. What I mean is, this is a must, because you cannot experience spiritual growth and know freedom if you remain detached from your rightful place within the wholeness of all that there is, which is God. You are not like the ray of sun alone, not just by yourself, which the sun itself shines forth. The sun from our solar system that we see in our physical body, but all individual sun rays, the individual ones that we think we see, there's some clouds up there that there's a sun ray over here and a sun ray over there, and all these different rays that are coming through from clouds interfering with the sun. But they're not different rays, they're all one. It's just the clouds make them only seem to separate. Does that make sense? There is only one ray remaining from the sun, only one sun ray remaining from the sun. However, there are clouds, like I said, that cause the separation of that single ray. The clouds are the ego-based mind, clouding the light within you. Boy, what a parallel that is from when we think of body to real reality, true reality. You and I are sisters and brothers. Really, there's no female or masculine overtone in eternity, but that's all we could understand it as, being in this world as ego minds, is that you and I are sisters and brothers, and that we are that ray of sunlight, that sunbeam that emanates from its source. We just can't fear the cloud that wants to cover us, the clouds in our mind that want to block our light, hoping to keep us separated from each other and our source. This is your life, your eternity, and yourself. It is this that the Holy Spirit, which is also that sun ray, reminds us of. It is this the Holy Spirit sees. Okay, and this is the way for thinking of the habits of successful people everywhere, truly successful people that have ever walked among us, ever. All of them. The Buddha, Jesus, the most popular, Jesus. It depends on who you're talking to, but and there's been many masters who understand this. But just Jesus and the Buddha come to mind. And yes, Jesus tried to tell us that he's the Son of God, but he didn't mean that he was the Son and we weren't. He was trying to tell us in those days that we are as one, the Son of God. We're all one, connected. Peace is the ego's greatest enemy because its reality is all about fighting for survival. Breaking free of that ball and chain, I guess we can say, is hard to do. Peace is the ego's greatest enemy because peace is wholeness. It's one. The ego wants to keep continuing to think and believe that we're not one, that there is a heaven and there's a hell. This is why the ego wants to believe its flesh and bones will one day be called to rise out of the grave after it's already turned to dust. This and many other beliefs are the ego's only way of seeing itself to be eternal. That's the only way the ego can see itself to be eternal, is to think that his body is going to one day come out of the grave and rise up to heaven and be a body somewhere up there in the clouds. And once again, I'm not being judgmental. I'm just trying to be that beam of light with you and give you food for thought here, for spiritual growth and for the power of your subconscious mind. So please give me that credit. This and many other beliefs are its only way of seeing itself to be eternal. The ego, that's the only way the ego-based mind, the ego who believes in separation, that's the only way the ego can see itself to be eternal. And the ego strives, works hard to maintain that illusion. But even in its strife of all that, it is very fearful because its illusions cannot protect it from the unknown. If you believe that there is strife in you, then you will react viciously. Like the hate mail I've been getting, just a little bit, but most of the mail, the majority of the mail was very loving, because those are the people coming to my podcast. But like I said, there's a few naysayers. So if you believe there is strife in you, then you will react viciously towards someone because you have the idea of danger in your mind, of threat, some kind of threat, threatening you to take away your separation, your right to be separate. Your right to be separate while in this world as a body, but beyond the body, you're not separate, you're whole. Can't get away from that. The idea itself is an appeal to the ego. What I mean is, the Holy Spirit is as alert and watchful as the ego is to the call of danger, and the Holy Spirit is opposing it with his strength. I say his, once again, you females, because I'm just using a masculine overtone here. That's what I'm used to. The Holy Spirit's going to oppose the ego's danger with his strength. His strength is nothing of separation. His strength is just simply meaning being whole, just as the ego, welcomes danger. The Holy Spirit just doesn't even really listen to that. This is exactly why I always suggest that you learn breathing meditation exercises to get you to that place within where you can see, what you need to do next. Listen to your inner self, your inner divine guidance system speaking to you. Listening. Meditation helps you listen. And if you are afraid of meditation, that's okay. I'm not here to judge that. If you're more comfortable with traditional prayer, rather than doing all the asking for favors when you're praying, just listen. Listen to your inner self to be told what to do next. And that's what meditation is about, is to listen to your inner calmness of being, your real soul, we could say, your real spirit, we could say, which is you. So meditation exercises are, when they're done in truth, helps you see that the Holy Spirit counters this welcome of the ego by welcoming peace and wholeness instead. You know, eternity and peace are as closely related as time is to war. Now think about that. Eternity and peace are as closely related as time is to war. And what I mean by that, okay, that threw you for a loop a little bit, is that eternity and peace will always win, because eternity and peace are truly all that exists. But when war is over, regardless of who won or lost, there's still conflict going on. But eternity and peace are still your residence, are still where you live, unchanged and unharmed. You know, I like to say, you know, when in The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy woke up in Kansas from the dream of Oz, she found out that she had never left Kansas after all. It was just a dream. Let me repeat that. When a war is over, regardless of who won or lost, there's still conflict. There's still bitter feelings. There's still fear going on. There's still separation, correct? But eternity and peace are still your residence, unchanged and unharmed. You know, at my website, I have a related article at my blog that I hope that you might check out. It's called How to Metaphysically See the Second Coming of Christ and Realize that you are already divine and that you are already in heaven. You just haven't woken up yet to realize it. I chuckle because it's exciting to me. It's changed my life to understand these principles. You know, before I leave and before I sign off and say to the light in you, let me say that I invite you to sign up for my Everyday Miracles Mastermind subscription. It's a newsletter and live webinars where we chat with each other and we help each other, where you and I meaning you the reader and you the listener and you the viewer of the webinars and all the information that I give to you, you know, we bring our minds together for self-success and for a better world. And I hope you'll check out my books if you haven't already. And by the way, if you feel that you want to know more about the mastermind group, it's at the website. Go to subscriptions. Actually, what you can really do to keep it simple, if you go to the podcast page at my website, and anyway, all over my website, there's places that ask you to click on to find out more about the Everyday Miracles Mastermind newsletter. There's a free version of the newsletter too. For those of you that aren't ready to join the mastermind group, that's fine, because, you know, I want to give you talk to you about things in small doses, and some aren't ready for certain reasons in their life, and that's fine. Everyone's well intended, but you know, some people like to stick their toe in the water first before, you know, going in the swimming pool. They want to stick their toe in and check the water. But I've always been one of those to just dive in. You know, for some reason, my mother made sure that I took swimming lessons at a young age. I can't remember what age, maybe third grade, maybe. I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years old, I learned how to swim, and she insisted that I learn to swim. I think because she was always a swimmer and wanted to make sure that her firstborn, which is me, was a swimmer as well. And so I'm thankful for that. But, you know, and it's just, we're whole. If we can all really come to grips with that and understanding the real meaning of forgiveness, which means looking beyond the body to who you really are. And that right there means the title of this podcast today, which is The Light of Spiritual Guidance, will sprout spiritual growth in you. Hey, everyone, I hope you enjoyed. And leave me a message. Even if you have hate mail, I will accept it. But I like the loving mail better. I hope you'll join and listen and give me some constructive comments. And by the way, if you've enjoyed this and you want me to speak about something at the next podcast or a future podcast, leave a message at my website at the contact page to say, Jim, could you please talk about this at your next podcast? And I will greatly, highly consider it because I want to help. Because we're all one behind this body. And we're all trying to get through this world wanting the same things, right? Isn't it peace? Peace of mind? Isn't that really what we all want? To get along and to be happy? Not fear things? Fun loving and all that kind of, isn't that really what we want? God bless. I wish the best for you. Thank you for joining me.